is going on, everybody? Welcome in to the North End Podcast, episode 120. My name is Zach Graham, your host here in the North End, joined, as always, by my good buddy. He's on record as my best friend. His name is Ian Michaud, and we call him E. E sitting here on a Sunday evening. Not feeling the best?
No, not the best at all. I think I said on the last episode there, we might be having a great time or an awful time. I didn't think it was going to be this bad. But yeah, it is. It is not good, and it's time to just get right into it because we got to get some shit off our chest that we've been stewing on for the last, 18 hours, 12 hours, whatever. But man, it was rough. I guess we'll get the good things out of the way. Great to see everybody at the Q that we know, our good friends, just to be back there. Obviously, the excitement, the atmosphere was incredible. And okay, there's the good things.
Yeah, I was reflecting on the same on the morning Wimby walk this morning, right? Like a lot of love in the North End, and I think most fans could probably say the same, like around the stadium, like wherever you sit or stand, right? Seeing all of your Austin FC friends, that's always going to be a positive, no matter the play on the pitch. But we'll talk about that play on the pitch. Lot to go through here. We'll rip this Band-Aid off, go through last night's loss at the hands of a shorthanded Minnesota United. We'll talk about the stats, the post-game press conference, and some interesting tweets there from a former Austin FC striker. We'll close it out talking about the Rodolfo Borrell press conference, which maybe we can end on a little bit of a positive there. Not much positive to pull from this game. Before we jump in, let's remind all of our friends listening, if you've got 5 extra seconds, take them right now. Rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast wherever you get your podcasts. And if you're watching on the YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button. Help us grow the channel in that manner. You can hit the notification bell to know when a live stream pops up or a new episode goes live. And of course, on this episode, hit that thumbs up, like the video. Help us battle the YouTube algorithm overlords. Atone for your sins. Wash yourselves clean in the waters of the North End. 2-1 loss for Austin FC in the season opener. But let's start real quick before kickoff. After our episode on Wednesday evening, we got the report on Thursday that Emmanuel Reynoso would indeed be out the next day. We got the news that Bongi Hlongwane was also still in South Africa, not going to be available. And then we had Kervin Arriaga was questionable. He ended up not playing either. So feeling pretty darn good going into Friday evening, like we had kind of hinted at on Wednesday, right, E? Like shorthanded loons. We will take that at home and let's take care of business. And then MLS, earlier in the day, we figured out, okay, where they're changing their injury reporting here because Austin puts out the game notes, and where they usually put that injury report, it says, we're not doing this year. New MLS rule. All of those injury reports will come out standardized at the same time, a little over 24 hours before kickoff the previous day. So, I will applaud the league for trying to implement some sort of standardization with these injury reports. I'm not a fan of the way they're doing it, where all the teams have to do it at once for various reasons, but it's one small step in a direction. I won't give them the right one, but it's not the worst thing that could happen. All of that to say this. That injury report comes out. Julio Cascante, not on it. So that was a silver lining because there was one player on that injury report. It was Sebastian Driussi, and he did not play. So I guess your initial thoughts there. We can talk about the lineup as well here. It was as we expected. Hedge was in there for Julio. Rest of the 11 was the same. Owen Wolf took Seba's spot there at the 10. So what were your thoughts? I mean, obviously it wasn't good thoughts when you saw the questionable tag and then ultimately not in the team.
I mean, it's concerning. It really is. It's a soft tissue injury, something that he has struggled with, something that also gets exacerbated when he plays on turf. He doesn't want to play on turf. So I am definitely quite concerned. Everything was breaking our way before this game. The Reynoso injury, no Bongi, just being at home, being back in that atmosphere, a next pro coach on the other bench. So everything was going on.
Which bench was he on?
Yeah.
I don't know if I could tell in that first fucking half.
It wasn't Utley on our side because it would have been better if it was Utley. Man, it was a nightmare to see that 10 was out, and then the complete lack of offensive creativity was on full display when he was not available, and it was just one of the worst ways to get going here to kick this season off, particularly after, everyone's been kind of preaching like some hope for this season to be patient and move into this, and then we just got hit in the mouth with just bad play after bad play, bad news, everything. It was a nightmare come true.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I felt like it's like we got in the first 45. I felt like we got hit with a knockout punch, and we're a middleweight, and we got hit by a lightweight, and just went down easily. Yep. And I know we're not, and obviously we'll get into the game as we do. But this is a, and I imagine most fans to varying degrees are charged up like we were last night, like we still were. It was bad. Putting it lightly, I think.
I mean, 103 games, right, that we've had with this club, and I honestly couldn't name two halves that were worse than that first half. I mean, I haven't even seen halves that bad at the FC2 games that we were going to. I mean, pretty much watched every single FC2 game. We've never looked that atrocious to start. Now, let's just get Mr. Bradley Scott Stuver out of that conversation. The following stuff that about this first half does not pertain to him because he is a consummate professional, a fantastic goalkeeper. He was legitimately the only person in the first half who was awake, who was ready to play the game, who had an idea of what they should be doing out there on the pitch. It was unrecognizable, like what Josh said, particularly for some of the most important players that we count on all the time. Johnny, Alex, like just
and should step up when the best player is out.
Absolutely.
This is your time to shine.
Horrible performances. And as much flack as we gave 10 last year for not being a vocal leader and getting behind the guys and getting on dudes' asses when we're not playing up to the level that we want to play, and we said 8 could do that. He didn't do that. And at some point when it was like, I mean, I'm calling for subs at minute 11.
Yeah, that's in the notes.
And like at some point, you just have to take a little pride in your craft, in your profession, in the crest that's on the front and the name that's on the back, and just be like, okay, nothing is going right here. Let's try to get something going. Fuck the game plan. Throw it out the window if we have to, and start playing. And the entire game, we're on our back heel from the start. The announcers are flabbergasted at how on our back heels we are throughout that entire first half, just continuously commenting on it. After I did this rewatch, that was the most unfortunate rewatch to start a season that I've ever had.
But man, I mean, could you have imagined being more disappointed this year compared to last year?
Yeah, absolutely. This was way more disappointing than almost anything that we saw last year.
Off the bench, you did have Steph Cleveland, unsurprisingly there. Hector Jimenez, Guilherme Biru, Julio Cascante was available off the bench. Brendan Heinzike, Johan Valencia, Hader Obrian, CJ Fodre, and Diego Rubio. So, man, we did find out pretty quickly what the new in-stadium experiences were going to be. Little light show with the bracelets they gave out. It was cool, very cool visually. The tifo was, of course, amazing. Like all the folks working on that, once again, pulled off what I think is another masterpiece there. It was the pageantry pregame was everything it should have been, and then the game started. But I would shout out everybody at the club who plans that type of stuff, because that was cool with the bracelets. Obviously the supporters as always. So I did just want to mention that. I think I said to you at halftime, because they did another little light show thing at the half, and it was like, you cannot do all this shit and play the way that we played.
It is unbelievable how flat we came out with the amount of excitement that was in the atmosphere in the queue last night. And just to see these dudes just fall flat on their faces and just completely fail at their job was was awful.
The pregame festivities were the highlight of the night.
Yeah, I don't think you're wrong there.
Let's jump in here to some of the notes. Second minute, we noted in the stadium, right? We did see the Austin rather defending in that 4-2-3-1 that we saw on stream against the Galaxy. And then here in the second minute, Hedges clears that first Minnesota attack out for a corner. Just wrote that becomes a theme here. But yeah, I guess your thoughts on the defensive alignment, the offensive alignment here. Obviously, we'll get more into the lack of alignment or adjustments here during the first half. But any thoughts off the top from that first 10 minutes outside of it, minute 11, like you said, where you told me subs?
Yeah. I did not like the look of that 4-3-2-1 or 4-2-3-1.
Yeah, 4-2-3-1. Yeah,
we're working with there. We highlighted and pinpointed earlier when we saw it in the preseason that clearly G is trying to push a center back or wing back to a side, and then that it initiates our more of our pressing style on defense. But they broke through it within 10 minutes. They had it completely figured out. G is not really fast enough to dictate which way a player needs to go. So he was consistently out of position. I thought Owen got sucked up too far continuously, and that's probably why you see him in the second half just completely gassed, because in that first half rewatch, you see him on 2 or 3 attempts where he's making a complete run to the end line, and he's ahead of G getting back, and it was just a nightmare situation. We've been preaching defense this entire preseason, and we should have had 3 goals left. If it wasn't for Brad, we would have been down 3-0 in that game with almost no resistance in that first half. And it wasn't like, they weren't doing anything spectacular. We had dudes out of position, lazy attempts on balls, guys just jogging to possessions. We lost almost every 50-50 ball in that half, inexcusable turnovers. Yeah, just keep running them down. What minute did we turn the ball over next?
Yeah, well, so I jumped to the 11th here because this is where we get this is the first sustained passage of corners down at that end in the south end. Minnesota wins another corner, initially headed away to the top of the box by Rigoni. Rosales pounced on this one. He wasn't able to connect cleanly on the shot from just outside the 18, so it the shot goes into the ground first and bounces up, but it floats right into the path of Franco Fragapane, who redirects it on frame, and that forces Stuver to make really his first great save of the night, pause it up over the bar, but obviously out for another corner. This was when you called for the subs. That next corner from the near side broadcast camera here, that one is cleared out of the area again, but the Loons stay in possession. Fragapane finds Pukki about 3 to 4 yards outside the box on the left side of the area. Pukki takes a touch inside towards the middle, drives one towards the net that Stuber is able to touch over the bar once again. At this point, we're into the 13th minute. That consecutive corner cleared out of the area by Hedges, but the Loons retain possession once again. Pukki nearly played through down that left side once again, but Stuver rushes out to the edge of the 6 to scoop it up. And for the first time in 3 or 4 minutes, you could take a breath, whether you're a player or a fan.
That shot by Pukki was fantastic. I don't know how you let him get so easily to his right foot. Clearly, he's trying to get to that right foot and put something on frame, and he puts a great shot on frame. And Brad, fortunately, the pounds are helped, man. I don't know, the muscle routine, whatever he did, protein shakes, he looked fantastic last night, and he deserves better. He deserves so much better than the quality of play around him, the just inept game plan that was rolled out that probably didn't even get facilitated in the game, because we were just scrambling, trying to survive, trying to not give up a goal after just getting absolutely pelted in this first 15-20 minutes. Minnesota was more aggressive. They looked in better shape. They were more connected. They were faster to loose balls. There was nothing to take away from particularly this first 20 something minutes where there was okay, anything can go our way here.
Yeah. And it continued kind of, and look, I don't want to make this at all about the officials, because I don't think they had any sort of they did not dictate the outcome of this game with calls that I perceived to be incorrect. there were plenty of incorrect and or missed calls for both teams here in the 14th minute. Will Trapp pretty clearly handles the ball in the defensive third right in front of us there in the north end. Players calling for it, fans calling for it, no call. The Minnesota buildup continues. You see Songbin Jong, who I thought was great for them last night.
Very good.
He gets free down the right side. Nice turn around Jean there on the left side. He has Pookie and Robin Lod making runs into the box. Jong gets that cross in on the ground towards the feet of Lod, but Owen got there first and clears it out for a corner. It was crucial intervention there because Lod was going to have a pretty open shot, one on Stuver there. That corner, how many times we said fucking corner in the 14th minute? Corner's headed out of the area there by Leo. The theme continues. Minnesota retains possession again. Rosales plays Pookie again on the left edge of the 18. He crosses it in. Songbin Jong steps in front of Ring. I thought this was a poor defensive effort on the part of the guy wearing the armband. That's one thing we didn't mention at the top. Alex Ring had the armband back, and when we saw that, I was hyped for that.
Yep.
Because and I know you said about a month ago when we were discussing the armband and the uncertainty there that you thought Alex Ring would have it. And I turned to you in the stadium last night. I was like, you did say that Alex Ring was going to wear the armband for the first game, but I bet you didn't want Driussi to be out for it to happen.
Yeah.
But anyways, I thought that play was the first time, and I do a couple other times in this first half with some of the turnovers that I don't think I really noted here in the run sheet, but lack of defensive effort there, and Stuver forced to make another save. I mean, I have it in here 15 minutes in. We're already seeing another Stuver masterclass here.
Yeah.
15 minutes in.
Alex was completely lost that game last night. I don't know what he was doing. I don't know. It wasn't the same player. I mean, the stuff that he does really well is the attention to detail, defensive positioning, things that you need out of that guy, and he did not provide any of it. When we get scored on eventually here in this first half, I don't know what he's doing. At some point in time, he has a back pass he's trying to get. They just take the ball off of him because he's just completely lazy and lackadaisical with it, and that is not who he is. And I cannot understand it. I know we were chatting with the Verde Pendant boys. Shout out to them. And man, I don't know if that relationship is cooked between him and Wolf. It really could be. We know there's fracture to it. And for him to get the band back now, obviously with 10 being out, it was completely uncharacteristic of everything that we have known from Alex Ring and his time here with Austin FC.
Yeah, it was definitely a performance that I did not expect out of Alex here. It's uncharacteristic. And I think the overarching, if we can dip into, because again, it's still just one loss on the record. It's 1 of 34, not taking away, we're going to continue talking about this bullshit here.
Yeah.
But with Alex bleeding into the team as a whole, they have another opportunity this coming Saturday to kind of right the ship, get a result that they will not be favored to get up in Seattle, and all the individual players have that opportunity again to kind of make good on what we expected to see last night.
That's good. That's one good thing about 34 games there. You get another one here, but man, I just could not wrap my head around where our players' heads were at. And it was embarrassing. I was legitimately embarrassed for the first time to be wearing that kit and watching this performance out here in the first half. And nobody took initiative and stepped up outside of Brad with 10 out. And he's not a fucking field player. So what's he going to do to pack the stuff out there? Nobody stepped up. I didn't like the lineup. I did not like it. When 10 is out, we don't have a single player who can get their own shot. We don't have a single playmaker. Owen is not a playmaker at the 10. We've seen that. He is very, very limited in his ability to create his own shot, which he rarely does, or get somebody else involved from that attacking position. Most of the time that he spent in that 10 position was either sprinting his ass back on defense to try to get, the ball back, or he's pushed up ahead of G, and G is completely neutralized in that position. G can't do shit with that. The ball on our side of the half, trying to turn and make a play. Finley was awful. He was completely out of position often. And it was like O'Brien at that point where it's like 10 is out and we have Obi and we have Rubio there. I think one of them had to have started that game. Given the circumstance, I understand it's the first game, right? And there's been some chatter around, are these dudes in shape? Timo Pukki was in shape. Timo Pukki was in great shape. He's older than both of those guys, and was ready to play. And he went out there and was impactful every time he was on the ball. And I just think when 10 was out, there had to be some sort of substitution where it's like, we need an offensive threat, because I can tell you who is not an offensive threat, and that is number 7. This man is absolutely terrified to shoot the ball. I don't understand what he's actually doing out there. He is routinely being sucked in towards the middle because he wants to get the ball and like make a pass. It's like, brother, we need you to shoot. You are our second DP. We need you to put the ball on frame or in dangerous positions. And there's a stretch in this first half after like the 10 or 15 minute mark where Rigoni's name doesn't even get mentioned. Like, you forgot he was out there. The announcers of the game were like, well, that's the first time we said Rigoni's name in about 30 minutes. And it's like, yeah, well, you're going to get your ass beat if your best DP's out. Your second DP is utterly useless, to put it nicely, for Rigoni. And then Alex Ring is just being somebody else that night. And I do like what you said about the referee, because that's just going to be an easy card for every single team to pull this year, where it's like, oh, well, the refs were terrible and they blew all these calls. They did not impact the outcome of this game. In fact, it was embarrassing to watch players go up to the referees at halftime and complain to them when they have done nothing on the pitch for 45 minutes. It wasn't the refs. It was not the refs' fault.
Yeah, and like I said, like, they missed plenty of calls. Like, we'll talk the one time where Johnny gets the boot in his stomach, and there's not VAR doesn't call down and say, "Yo, like, that's at least a yellow."
It's a fucking yellow. Like,
but again, that didn't have any sort of bearing on the outcome of this game.
He was somebody else who was completely uncharacteristic, out of position defensively, all kinds of times. And we were looking for some sort of answer. Well, obviously, when we get later on in this game, when he gets subbed out, was like, why are we subbing Johnny at this point in time? And then you go back and you watch that first half, and he deserved to get subbed out. And I'm not saying he's the only one, because G deserved to be subbed out. Finley deserved to be subbed out. Rigoni deserved to be sent to Austin FC too. I don't know what to do with this man. He's been in Austin for what, 3 years now? 2.5.
A little less than 2. Total.
He's got, it seems like 12.
Feels like forever. Yeah.
He's got 5 goals and 38 haircuts. It's absurd.
I forgot about that shit.
Yeah, dude, his goal to
what's the haircut to goal ratio?
7-1.
Even just goal contribution.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Like, he wasn't ever really a big time goal scorer in his career, but like, yeah, it's wild. And I do want to give some credit to Cameron Knowles, right? The interim coach, because 16th minute, like, here you can start to see, right? Like, they're high pressing us. We're not starting to see it in the 16th, but now it's setting in that, like, they are really fucking us up with this high press. That's not their calling card. And to me, and again, hindsight is 20/20, and we're not sitting here saying that we're experts, but like, it seems like, to me, the easiest answer here is their coaching staff watched us in the preseason, out there at Coachella, on the stream, whatever. And they see the changes that we're making, right? I don't necessarily agree that the new defensive shape that Austin is in is a bad thing. Because I think that's part of what they were talking about, their defensive focus and trying to make some changes on that end. But the offensive change that we made, and that you and I think we're both fans of wanting to see Danny Pereira further up the field, right? And we've seen, whether it's on the stream or just from the people in the stadium, the few people who are there at the Q2 matches or out there at Coachella, talking about Alex Ring being back there by himself. If you look at this team over the last 2 years, we get fucked up by the high press. And what was our answer to that in the past? It's Danny being back there, and to a lesser extent, Owen as well. So now when we're running, like, our hand was somewhat forced with Driussi being out there, right? You're going to have a midfield that you weren't planning on as of Wednesday. And the adjustments do come. We'll talk about it.
Yep.
I'm disappointed in the coach. I think it's Josh Wolf and his staff's fault that they did not adjust tactically in the first half. And he talks a little bit about their thinking in the presser, and we'll get to that. But we've seen coaches who I think a lot of fans would perceive to be better, certainly coaches who have had more success in the league, and there are multiple factors to that. A guy like Steve Cherundolo has a roster build that is just leaps and bounds better. Their resources are better. They've spent more. They've hit on more players, what have you. But I think back to that LAFC match on the road last year where first 30 minutes, Austin's competing, getting chances, and then they make a tactical change that Coach Cherundolo talks about after the game. And you see it in the momentum chart, and you see it in the expected goals and assists in all of those statistics, right? Eye test, on paper, whatever. You saw the change happen in the middle of the first half. And I feel like I guess we can just talk about this now. I understand that from a coaching perspective that you want to let guys kind of find the game, right? And making changes right here, maybe in the 16th minute, maybe that's a little bit early. But surely when we're 30 minutes in, or maybe even after that first goal is given up, which we haven't even got to yet, maybe we pull Danny closer back to the ball. Maybe Owen drops, like something, because you look at the midfield when we're on offense here, it is barren. And when those guys did track back, the like handful of times you could count on one hand the number of times they even attempted to do that and drop into some of that space, we're hitting these hopeful long balls that are just, we don't have, like if Obi is out there and Rubio is out there, then maybe we feel a little bit better about that. But instead, we're sitting back there with Alex Ring trying to distribute to Gallagher and to Kolmanich, Jesus Christ, and Hedges and Leo, and those four guys plus Ring are the ones that are having to beat somebody one-on-one and matriculate the ball up the field. That's not how we've ever found success against a high press. And I just feel like walking away from that game, especially after the rewatch, the fact that it took until halftime to make the adjustment, that did work. I'll give the coaching staff credit for the halftime adjustments they made. We'll talk about that. But I just think the first half was atrocious. We've been given the players guff, rightfully so, but the coaching staff deserved it equally, if not more so, for that first half performance, because you got out-coached by a next pro fucking coach.
Yep.
And that's a fact.
That's 100% true. Absolutely mopped the floor with him. And like the tape has been out on us struggling with high press for a very long time. So like the fact that we don't have just instant adjustments that we can make, particularly when a team chooses to change their style of play without their best player and do this to us and let them dictate the entire flow of this game. Everything was through Minnesota. This was how Minnesota wanted to play against us, and they executed it to perfection. And our entire coaching staff, starting with Josh, got absolutely mopped by this new dude in Minnesota. And look, and I'm with you. I understand that too, and I understand the rationale behind saying, look, we're not going to start Obi, we're not going to start Rubio, despite the fact that 10 isn't here because this is our first game. These are the guys that we're comfortable with, who have been in our system.
Is it fair to say, sorry to interrupt, is it fair to say that if there's a difference between Obi and Rubio because Rubio just got here, 2.5 weeks ago? Obi's been in camp the entire preseason. So I'm more in on the idea that, okay, Rubio's not match fit for more than like a half. He didn't play more than like 30, 35 minutes in any of those 3 preseason matches. So I get not starting him. I would think Obrian, and again, I think both of those guys are going to start next Saturday. But like, I'm with you on Obrian, less so on Rubio. I totally get why he didn't start, and Biru as well.
I understand the rationale behind it, yes, but like, look, how many games like this is Josh going to actually get? Because if
this is the easiest one out of the first 6, right? On paper.
Exactly. And then if this continues, like, you're not going to have a job, bro.
Yeah,
like
100%.
You are going to, and that's why I would rather him go down swinging and like try something creative, fucking sub somebody at the 20-minute mark where it's like, okay, dude, your head is clearly in your ass. You are not ready to play in this game.
Yep.
And we need to make a change. And the fact that nothing came until halftime, Leo, but like Christ.
That also, I mean, him going down, that also screws with your subs because it uses a window, right?
Absolutely. It screwed the subs up for sure. But I mean, it was just inexcusable. The team was not prepared to play. There was no There was no carryover from any of the good things we saw in the preseason into this game, and particularly in the first half. And man, it was just flat out embarrassing. And you can't have too many more games like that and think you're gonna retain your job. It's not gonna happen. The fever pitch will grow too loud and it will come down. And like Rodo and Josh have been talking about creativity on offense and stuff. Where was it?
Yeah,
where was any layer of creativity? There was times there where our spacing looked like we were playing elementary school soccer, where it's like the kids see the ball and they just all like magnet to it. And it was just atrocious. It was the worst half of soccer I've ever seen this team play.
Yeah, and again, like even adjusting for not having Driussi in there, it was way below any reasonable bar that a fan would set. The performance was miles below.
It can't be that bad when we lose one guy. Like, I understand he's our best player, he's our most impactful player.
One of the best months of the season last year, and there weren't many, was when he was out. And we adjusted. The coaches adjusted, and the players stepped up, and there was none of that last night.
Nope. And even in those situations, the team played hard. And we were lacking talent, and obviously we're thin and playing some dudes who are, not MLS starter caliber guys, but at least we played hard. At least we played with some fire, a little passion. It was just, man, it was like watching a different team.
Remember when I said before we hit record that I think this one might be a shorter episode? Here we go, E. 32 minutes in. 20th minute. Austin wins a throw in the attacking third. I think that was our first of the match in that manner. The possession, this is from my notes, our possession style is very disjointed. Hopeful long balls were the only sign of life in the first 20 minutes. Austin does keep the pressure on here, and we win our first corner. And John Kolmanich whips it in, and off the head of Zardes out for a corner. I thought in person, and then confirmed on the rewatch for me, it was a well-executed set piece. It found the head of Zardes. Big Mike Boxall, fuck him. He played well last night. Big Mike Boxall goes up, challenges, skims off Zardes' head, and out. But it took 20 minutes to get any sort of action in the north end. And when we get down there, again, I think credit to the set piece there, Coach Grubb, probably right from him on the training ground to the north end there, but can't convert. So
set piece was nice. Owen sets a good moving screen on G's initial man there.
Yeah.
And yeah, dude, watching it on the rewatch, I was like, oh man, we could have got lucky right there. And the other point that I thought maybe we want to have those guys start Rubio and Obrian. If you went up on this team early, you could have put them away.
Probably,
could have. And just getting off to a good start should have been like the most imperative thing. And I know that the game is 90 minutes, but fuck, man. Like, it was just so stupid to watch on every single level of the game outside of Bradley Scott Stuber.
Yep. 23rd minute, here's where you kind of hinted at it earlier, where Alex Ring gets his pocket picked, facing our own net, looking like he's indecisive on whether or not he's going to pass it back to Brad Stuver. Robin Lou just runs up behind him. Thank you very much. Fires a shot around Stuver, bangs off that left post. Ball stays in. Minnesota ends up working it for another corner that is ultimately cleared out by Austin. But again, we don't have to go back in on Alex. It was a bad play, and then he stayed down acting like he got fouled. He fucking didn't.
Well, and I was going to go in on him for that because
all right, go ahead.
He did not get fouled, and nor was he hurt. And that ball stayed in fucking play as a direct result of his terrible turnover. He almost had one earlier too, with a very soft kind of dribbling pass back to Brad. That somebody Bongi might intercept that. Like there's players who can go get that ball. So he was awful. He was horrible.
Yep.
And to stay down like that, that ticked me off. That would almost made me as mad as when Danny goes up to the refs.
Well, that's not Alex Ring doesn't stay down like that. It was uncharacteristic.
Yep.
And I also think on the rewatch, you can't really pinpoint where Leo truly gets hurt here, but this on right around this same play is when you first kind of see any sort of looking like a limp there, like something's not right.
Yep.
26th minute, Austin able to create this sort of fast break, but then Ethan Finley gets outrun by Mike Boxall.
Yep. I almost pulled my hair out on that rewatch there. How he lost, how he did not just turn the Jets on and blow past this center back on the right side is beyond me. And again, if that's Obi, he's gone. He's fucking gone.
You would think. I would think that about Finley too, though.
Absolutely. But again, just there was a collective stink on every single player out there outside of Bradley Scott Stuver. That was just, there was no urgency whatsoever. And you brought it up earlier, you look at these next couple games we got coming up, the way that this broke, this was the one me and H were on the fucking best ball stream. We both said it's a must-win game. Because everything has been saying, survive till the winter, survive until that point. And this is how you have to survive. You have to get this game at home. And to not even get a fucking point, man, is just I have no words for it.
There is one game still going on as we record this in MLS Matchday 1, Galaxy and Inter Miami. But until this point, there is one home team that has lost. Only Austin FC. 28th minute here, Minnesota wins their 8th corner. Sungbin Jong crosses it in, finds Hassani Dotson's head right in the 6th. Stuver, another save. Fragapane tries to follow it up. Stuver keeps it out again for another corner. Loons stay in possession. Teemu Pukki gets it poked away for another corner by John Gallagher. So less than a half hour in, 10 corners for the Loons. 34th minute here, Rosales gets free down the left. And this is where, in the stadium, because obviously this culminates in the first breakthrough for the Loons, this is where I was upset with the defense on that side. Rosales splits Gallagher and Pereira. Both of them look confused as to whose responsibility is to chase him down, and he just leaves them in the dust. Starts the break. He finds Pukki about 30 yards from net in the center of the pitch. Robin Lod makes a really smart run down the middle. It drags Leo with him, which gives Pukki the space to fire a shot. And I'll give Danny credit. He got himself back in the play, gets a deflection, and this shot trickles out to the right. From our vantage point in the north end, this is where we have depth perception issues. I think both of us thought that ball was going out on the inline for another corner. Mm-hmm. On the replay, not even close to the inline.
Not even close.
And Ben Jong on the right, he puts it right across the face of goal. And Stuver, again, this is a Stuver fucking masterclass, even in the loss. Still gets a mitt to it. And, of course, falls right to Robin Lod that many times. Of course, they're going to get one bounce. So Lod taps it home. 1-0 Minnesota. But again, I still, it goes back to right around midfield. Whether it's Gally, whether it's Danny. Those guys can't get split like that. They can't give Minnesota that much space on the break. And I know Danny gets back to deflect that Pukki shot, but does it even get to a Pukki shot if those guys have their shit together on that side? And again, I don't know if that's coaches on the training ground, if it's those guys in the moment, because I know some fans, anything that happens, even watching clips and posting them on social media is these guys are scared to shoot, and that's on the coach. And some of that may be true, but the coaches can also, they can't just warg into these motherfuckers and make every decision for them. They're professional soccer players. And so those guys communicate and figure that shit out in my book. And that's where that possession started, and it ends up. We end up giving up the first goal there. And I know it could have been 3, 4, 5 fucking goals, but to that point, Brad had stood on his head. And like you said earlier, it's not fucking fair to him the way he played last night and the way his teammates let him down.
I mean, the possession, like you said, it starts with horrible defensive effort, horrible defensive communication between Johnny and Danny, and then Alex and Johnny get caught with their thumbs up their butts watching this play, just ball watching. And this dude's just standing up. We have two guys. I wish, and that was one point where I was on this rewatch, I wanted to screenshot. And I know screenshots can be very misleading.
Right.
Because obviously they can be taken over. But just two of our most energetic, connected kind of dudes just standing, looking come on, Brad, you got to get this one too, brother. God, man, did this man no favors whatsoever. I wouldn't, God.
Yep. After that goal scored, Leo goes down. Julio comes in. Matt Hedges switches over to the left side while Julio comes in on his standard right side. 42nd minute. It's where Fragapane puts his studs into Gallagher's stomach. No foul called. No VAR call down for a card. In my opinion, it should have been. Again, refs were not great. Did not have an effect on. They did not sway the game. But I thought this was just very clear. Like, you guys are replacement refs, but you still have video. And, like, come on, man. Like, we can get that right.
You've still reffed some games before, I hope. You can't just kick somebody in their midsection with your studs up and not get a card for it.
Yeah. First minute of stoppage time here. After another nervy moment at the back, this is with Hedges almost giving it away on a back pass to Stuver. Austin's able to settle it into the middle with Ring. And this is what, like, again, this is the adjustment, I think, that is, it's made at halftime for sure. You see it coming right out of the half. But fuck, man, 10, 15 minutes earlier, it could have been a different game. Mm-hmm. Ring touches it onto Danny, who had dropped in next to him right next to midfield. Then Danny's able to turn it upfield immediately with his dribble, which is, he's like one of, if not the best in the league last year at progressing the ball at his feet. He immediately creates space for Emi Rigoni to drop in and turn after he receives the pass from Danny. Emi gets it out to Kolmanic on the left. He slides it down the inline. Danny had continued through. Danny puts a cross in from that inline. It finds Finley's head on the back post. Fatma did credit that with a big chance. I think it's maybe borderline, but probably fair at the end of the day. Unfortunately, that goes right to St. Clair, but he was right there, made good contact. I think, you probably want to get that one down into the ground a little bit more, but it was the first, outside of that set piece off Zardis's head earlier, the first like actual buildup of play that resulted in a chance for Austin. And wouldn't you know it, Danny dropping back into where he's been playing for Austin for a long time and finding that elite success. Like, again, I want to see Danny succeed in that more advanced position. I don't think that the coaching staff is going away from it completely after last night. But when we're getting pressed like Minnesota was, we will see plenty of teams try to do that to us throughout the rest of the season. Danny is better further back. And that's just, unless somebody can show me some fucking video evidence of that not being the case, let's stop with that shit for now, man. That's just how I feel about that. Like sometimes the coaches know what's best, right? But again, not giving them credit for this because it was the coach's tinkering that put Danny that far up in the first place.
Alex can't do it.
Not by himself. He can't.
He cannot do it by himself. And we have, if we're going to be playing off that back line, we have to have some sort of connector who is able to then progress the ball up the field. And that's why you see these half-hearted long balls where it's like, well, we kind of just got to get this shit out of here at this point, and it was just unrecognizable soccer for this club. Well, let's talk about our lack of no more long throws and how that was a set piece that we used to generate chances for this team.
Yeah.
I could not count on my hands how many times we turned the ball over after a goal kick, after a throw-in, that were just like, we just gave the ball back to their team. It's like, okay, well, now you guys can get it and come get on our ass again. And it's just like, well, why? What are we doing here? The effort plays on the sidelines to be able to get the ball into play from Finley and Rigoni were atrocious. There's nothing else to say about that. Rigoni can't win balls in the air. Like, he doesn't even jump half the time. Like, I don't understand why these long balls are even coming to him. He doesn't have breakaway speed. He's not that tall. He's not that athletic.
Yep. First half shots.
Turnover by Owen in that first half that we and he just passes the ball right to the other team, and it was just like, oh, all right, give me the stats.
First
we had
half
to take them off the fucking scoreboard at halftime, right?
We took the fucking stats off the scoreboard. 14 shots to 3 in the first half, 7-1 on target, of course, in favor of the Loons. 5 big chances to 1, 11 corner kicks to 1, and again, 46 minutes. The first thing you notice out of the break, watching it live, watching it back on the replay, Danny back there with Alex Ring, much closer. And over the first few minutes, holy shit, the team able to keep possession and break some lines. And like, now we start looking, again, not spectacular, but at least competent. And you start to take control of this game.
I mean, as god-awful, horrendous, brutal, atrocious, terrible nonsense that first half was, we were only down 1-0. And it very easily could have been 3, 4, 5, even 6, who knows? But like, we were still down 1-0 and in position here to we can a full second half here when we knew we were the better team. Well, it's hard to say that, but there was time. There was time.
Yeah. Yep. 50th minute here, long passage of Austin possession, without question the best of the game to this point. Alex Ring gets it to Owen, and he slides it on to Rigoni out on the left. Rigoni puts it into the area, on the ground, low cross, right to Finley, who was cutting behind Zardes at this point. And then Finley sends it right into the middle of section 103 there in the south end. But again, he can do better finishing that. But again, you're seeing the signs of life. 6 minutes later, Finley gets around Rosales in the attacking third. Nice touch, shields him off with his body, tries to make the run. Rosales brings him down. First yellow shown, as it should have been there. Or should be a yellow, shouldn't have been the first one. Rigoni off that free kick puts it into the mixer, but Cascante goes all over a defender's back, gets called for the foul, rightfully so. But again, now we're getting first 10 minutes out of the half. You see it on the momentum chart. It's not a monumental piece of Austin, of green there, of Verde on the momentum chart on Fatma, but it is the most sustained we had seen to this point. 58th minute. Here's where you do get the triple sub. Obrian, Rubio making their Austin FC debut. Valencia in as well for Finley, Zardes, and Gallagher, which moved Owen Wolf to right back. And it was a head scratcher at the time. And I think I heard you say it earlier. I understand the decision more now. But fuck, man, if Johnny's got to pick his shit up next game. And I have full confidence that he does because of the professional that he is. But, this is a guy, he did not start the first game last year. Turned it around, all-star nod, right?
Yep.
So, we have the blueprint before where Johnny wasn't in the best of favor in match week 1 and still became and was one of the most important players on the team. So, I'm hoping it's just a speed bump, to another solid season for him. But again, the rewatch did not raise my opinion of his play last night at all.
Look, and like you said, you want, and coach talks about it later, you want to be able to let the guys find the game. But the leash had been extended to its maximum. And I just felt that G had to be subbed out at half. Finley or Rigoni needed to be subbed out at half. Johnny needed to be subbed out at half. If we could have gotten Alex out of there for something at halftime, I would have been okay with it. But there was just no urgency, and there was no urgency from the coaching staff, because I think you show urgency by making this isn't our game plan, but we're going to have to go off script here because we're getting our asses beat. And too little, too late, man. 58th minute, we lost Leo. We got guys who are just not fully there.
63rd minute, Austin clears off of a Minnesota corner, and Rigoni gets a fortunate bounce, turns upfield for Rubio. Rubio switches the play to the right side for Obi, who opts for a cross instead of an overlapping Owen Wolf. That cross gets touched away by Boxall, but falls to the feet of Danny. Danny takes a touch towards the end line from that top of the box, then crosses it in from that left side. Boxall again taps it away. Obi beats Hassani Dotson to this ball, takes some contact. That shot pings off Boxall's arm on the replay, I think, tucked into his body. Fine with that no call, but there was contact there on Obrian. That deflection falls to Rigoni. His shot gets blocked away as well. They do stop the game to check on Obi, and then there is a VAR check, but no review gets recommended. And I'm not watching it on the replay. Obviously, charged up a little bit more in the stadium last night. Wasn't happy with it on the replay. I'm fine with no review there.
I'm also fine with it. Everything's a little more heated in the stadium like that.
Yeah.
But you saw it there, and it wasn't worthy.
Yep. 65th minute, Rubio wins a ball out of the air. Crowd applauding him for it. The effort, we talk about XG all the time. People joke about X dog. We don't have a ton of those guys, especially last year. We know number 8, we can count on him for that usually. But I think our new number 14 is another guy we can count on to have some of that juice, Felipe style. Yep. But this guy's much better player.
Yes, and another reason why I thought I got in earlier.
Yeah. So Danny earns a corner off that play. That corner's played short to Jean. His cross to the back post does find Ring, and then Obi off a deflection. Obrian shot blocked out for a throw by Pookie. And we do see the first long throw of the night here from Owen coming up from that right back position. Hedges is able to mix it up in the 6-yard box, but nobody could clean that up. 3 minutes later, we get Minnesota subbing in 2 youngsters, Bran and Oluwasi, I think is how you say that. That's a tough one for ZG there. But Robin Lod and Timu Pukki coming off. And when this happened, I was like, okay, you have to equalize now.
Go. Yeah.
They are, of course, not giving up. But taking those 2 guys off the pitch, they just turned into the closest thing to a next pro team we have seen in many, many matches. And credit to those young guys they brought on, because these aren't the only ones that end up subbing in for Minnesota, but they did their job. And I don't know, man. I just think, again, it's a bad look that Minnesota was able to, the interim coach is putting his trust and the confidence into these young, unproven players, making their, I don't know, to be honest, of the 3 or 4 that come on here in the second half, how many of them were actual first team debuts. They were kind of talked about like they were all just newbies.
Yep.
And it's just we don't have that, whether it's the players, whether it's the confidence from the coaching staff, what have you. And it was a dick kick not to be able to take advantage of this.
Yeah, and that's why the excuse that R10 was out is just it's not valid.
Yeah, it rings hollow.
Yeah, their best player was out. Bongi, one of their best players, he was out. They sub Pookie off, and they put these young dudes in here, and we still can't capitalize. And they still were beating us to the loose balls, still on the front foot, despite so. But we've talked about this second half looking like an improvement. It would be nearly impossible to go backwards from that first half. You'd have to maybe just shoot on your own net and just really stick it to Stuver.
Yeah. Yeah. 70th minute. Johan gets booked for a heavy challenge on Dotson there. Well-deserved. 72nd minute. Kolmanich has to usher a ball out for a Minnesota corner. He's definitely grimacing here in the north end. Maybe some cramping going on there. Cross comes in off the corner, gets cleared out of the area by Jean. That ball falls to Taylor, and he blasts the shot that goes right at Stuver. And then Brad here rushes out to the edge of the area. Great lead pass to Emi Rigoni to start the break. It's 3-on-2. Obrian in the middle, Emi on the left, Owen trailing slightly on the right. I thought Emi could have shot this. He pops it over to Obrian, but Obrian's already near the spot at this point, so he has to slow up. And if you're going to give it to Obi, it's got to be a little bit earlier in my eyes. Defense recovers, ends up out for a goal kick, wasted opportunity. And again, to your point, I see you rolling your eyes. Rigoni has had plenty of games where he was below average and probably, being kind to him with that description. This was extra poor on the night from, like you said earlier, our second highest paid player.
He threw the timing completely off because everybody expected him to shoot because that was the right thing to do in that situation. And then you have numbers there where if something spills or we're off the post, we can tap it in. And he passes the ball off because he can, for his entire career, has always passed the puck when it comes down to, hey, it's game time now and we need that X-dog to come out of somebody. And you are a Siamese cat. There's no – I don't understand, man. This was his chance. This was a breakaway. This is your spot to go score a fucking goal. He must. I don't know if he enjoys scoring at this point because he is so scared of shooting. How many?
I got your answer.
Yeah.
That's for the YouTube viewers only. 74th minute. You do get the debut of Guilherme Biru in there for Kolmanich. Jesus Christ. Killing the John name pronunciation here today. Just a bang-up job. 77th minute, Austin. Another decent bout of possession here. Julio plays a nice ball up the middle to Rubio, who is dropping in. Rubio gets a nice one-touch flick onto a charging Alex Ring. Captain has a shot here. Opts to cut it back to Danny, who had to slow up. I do think he wanted Danny to kind of make a slightly different run there. You saw them communicating after this play, but again, you also have the shot there. Danny couldn't find the space. The play's not over. He gets it out on the right to Obrian, and Obi puts it right across the face of net, past Dane St. Clair and Rubio sliding. Very similar to the goal he converted against the Galaxy in the preseason. Yeah. Can't quite get to it there last night. One of our better chances on the night. And again, like the second half was better. And I would think that with O'Brien and Rubio, these guys who have been playing together for less than 3 weeks here, like that kind of connectivity will improve with time. That's just how it's going to work, right? So I'm not super worried about any disconnections there. But again, it just would have been nice to poke one in there and really put the pressure on Minnesota and maybe steal all 3 points here late if we could just get one of these chances to go.
I mean, you score there, right? Every high press situation is off. They're packing it in.
Yeah, and they've got the young guys on.
Yeah,
like
you can be the aggressor in that situation, and it's just it wasn't a night for us, man, and it was self-inflicted to start that whole game, man.
Yeah, because right after that, you get Miss Envy and Caden Clark in there, who's now with Minnesota, obviously highly touted prospect a few years back. And they take off Songbin Jong and Franco Fragapane.
Yeah.
So, and then the Loons press had already been pretty muted since they brought those first 2 subs on. But now into the final 15 minutes, they're sitting back, absorbing the pressure, trying to see the game out as they should. 84th minute, you get a Rubio yellow card for dissent. I like the fire. I don't know if we needed it last night. Like, we didn't need you to get a yellow card last night, because if you're going to take this starting job and we're going to rely on you for big minutes and we know you've already got that juice, you're going to probably pick one up down the road, couple down the road, and we just don't need to be missing you for yellow card suspension. So, hopefully it doesn't come back to bite him. But again, hindsight being 2020, I would like to have that card back just based on how I feel, how important Rubio is going to be the rest of the year.
He's going to have to be good. He's going to have to be very good. And, just the offensive creation, it elevates when he was in the game. The ability to make plays on the ball and to be aggressive. And, when 10's not there, it can't look this bad. It can't. It cannot look this bad.
Yep. 87th, you get Zarek Valentin in for DJ Taylor. So another larger, center back there to kind of try to see this one out. Rigoni starts a break right after that sub, slides it out to Biro on the left. Biro's cross is cleared out for a corner after he was trying to find Hodder O'Brien. That corner is put on the back post, but Alex Ring gets called for the foul. Then in the 90th, Rigoni, nice first touch to win a ball out of the air with Valentin putting a lot of physical pressure on him in this one. Turns back to the middle, finds Alex Ring. Ring slides it nicely along to O'Brien in the 18. And again, thought he had a shot here. Opts to try to find Rubio instead of shooting. And Tapias gets it out for an Austin corner. And Rigoni, the return of the absolute shit corner. This one doesn't go over anybody. Barely trickles to the first defender who's by himself there. It gets kicked out for an Austin throw. They get it all the way back to Stuver off the throw. Stuver boots it forward. Minnesota brings it down and kind of out of the scrum, right? Ends up with numbers on the break. Caden Clark leading it. Biru looking either gassed or slow or both. Again, I know he hasn't been in camp for less than 2 weeks, right? But Julio beats Biru down the field. And Julio was just hurt for 2 weeks. And he gave him he had a 10-yard head start, and Julio ends up even with him by the time Minnesota gets into the offensive third. Clark plays a very nice ball onto Oluwaisi. He taps it to Brand. Nice pass there, too, to Brand, who finishes it off for the second goal. It was called offside, overturned, good goal upon further review. You mentioned earlier about, how screenshots can, you can take it at a certain point sometimes and manipulate how things look. I saw a screenshot this morning that looked like this was very much offside, and then you get to the rewatch, barely onside. So a good goal, 2-0, and the game surely over at that point.
Yep. It felt over the whole time, honestly. Despite some better effort in that second half here, we showed nothing that was overly confidence inducing. That was the dagger right there. And again, just poor Brad. Right.
Yeah. 4th minute of stoppage time, and we only had 3 given. And everybody in the stadium can see now because it's on the board. Austin does have a very nice passage of possession here. Again, while the game just doesn't matter at this point. But I'll still give them credit because very tight network of passes here inside the Minnesota area. You get Wolf to Rubio, back to Wolf. He gets it to Ring. Nice give and go back to Owen, who crosses and finds a wide open Guilherme Biru, easily bops it home. So 2-1. And then, as it should be, right on the restart, full-time whistle. And again, you see guys going over and complaining. It's like, fellas.
Boys, you had 90 minutes to do it.
Yeah.
And half of that was with an FC2 club on the other side.
Yep. So final stats here, 22 shots to 9, 10 on target to 2, of course, in favor of Minnesota. 6 big chances for Minnesota, 4 of them missed. 2 big chances for Austin with 1 miss. 16 corner kicks to 4. And on FOTMob's model, a 3.05 XG to 1 flat here for Austin. Before we get into some of these press conference quotes, anything else you have to add on the game?
Nope. I'm glad that we were able to get that all out. I hope these dudes can put that in the back of their mind and just move on from this game, because there was nothing that they could be proud of. I don't even know if you have shit that you can build on outside of playing Rubio and Obi more and hoping Ten's not really dealing with a long-term soft tissue injury. But other than that, it was great to be back in the stadium. It was awful to watch that team perform.
Yeah, and on Seba, right, going into the press conference with Coach Wolf, he said Andriusi, he said he's got a hamstring. We don't think it's terribly significant. It happened Wednesday, obviously took him out of this game, but we don't expect it to be long. So, leaving the door open for a return, absolutely, this Saturday. But as you pointed out earlier, and I know you're taking that from my bitch session last night, screaming about, we're going to play on turf. You're telling me this guy is going to go to debut on turf with the bad hammy? I don't know, man. We'll see.
God, you go up there without him, you might get embarrassed.
Walloped.
Yeah, you might get really whooped. And I know
especially you play like that.
Oh,
if you play like you did in the second half, maybe you can go out there and scrape out some sort of result. We have gone to Seattle. I almost said Philly. We have gone to Seattle and pulled out results that we didn't expect before. Draw in the first season, win last season. But again, there's like you said, there's nothing confidence-inducing about really anything that happened last night, because even the improvements in the second half weren't good enough, because almost anything you did to build on that first half would have been better. It would be a fucking challenge to be worse.
It would be an absolute challenge. That team that played that first half it's a wooden spoon team. That team would be the worst team in the league. So I'm glad that they didn't pay attention to all the pundits, because clearly they're just proving them right with how they came out in this first game and just embarrassed themselves.
Yep. Prove the doubters right.
Yeah.
On Leo, he said he's got something that's bothering him. It's plantar fasciitis, kind of like the tendon on your bottom of the foot. So some irritation. Thanks for the explanation, Dr. Wolf. And clearly he felt a little something that he needed to come out for. There's that side of it. And then there's just the first half. It was unrecognizable from what the group had looked like in 6 or 7 weeks of preseason. And I believe it, right? We saw the team as much as we possibly could. And, of course, the full game that everybody got to see against the Galaxy. And they were not that bad. But it's preseason. And this is why you don't put much stock into the preseason. Obviously, the coaches and players should, because they're the ones out there working and trying to see the progression of what they're looking to improve on and implement. But, we know Josh can't win in these press conferences, because this is the type of scenario, and I'm sure he ripped some guys at halftime, ripped the entire team, whatever. But this is the time where I would love to see him do that publicly. But because of the way he's misstepped with that before, we didn't agree with him bringing up, again, there were definitely reasons why he talked about a contract of Diego Fagundes last year, right? Diego wasn't in the right for the things that he did leading up to that, but neither was Josh bringing, he has, because of how Josh acted in these press conferences last year, he has lost some of the leeway that he could probably get to actually send a message publicly, and not just in the locker room here.
Yeah.
But you wasted it last year when you probably shouldn't have. So
That's a great point. The missteps from last year, and they have not given it, like he's getting killed in these press conferences, man. Like it's just, and there's nothing he can really say. So that's going to appease a large part of the fan base, or even some of the reporters in there that are asking him questions. But I mean, I sometimes you just got to stand on business. Like you have to. And like, I know that I read Phil's article today earlier, and Danny talks about Josh getting on him at halftime and everything. But it's like, do you really need the fucking coach to get on you at halftime after what you just did? Like, I wouldn't.
Especially with Danny, it's such a big year for him. Whether he's here next year or not. Yeah.
This is a huge year for Danny, and this is not the right way to start it off. And you look at the quotes that came out, and of course, everyone, you don't have to be a brain surgeon to realize that this wasn't our effort that we need throughout the entire course of the season, and to be able to call you can't call Alex Ring out now. Like, you do that, it's over, and it's like you gotta. Somebody had to say something about 7. Somebody had to say something about it. Someone had to step up, and nobody wanted that job. Nobody.
Yep. I will say this, or I will bring this quote up because I think, again, this is giving me not good vibes, but I'm encouraged about seeing something different next Saturday. Said I don't expect the starting lineup to be the same as tonight, but we've got competition inside the group. We have to perform better. So yeah, I certainly expect some changes, and we hope that Seba is back, of course, next Saturday, but we'll preview the Seattle match on Wednesday's episode.
Something has to change. That starting lineup cannot be allowed to do what they did ever again.
Yeah.
Like that unit cannot be allowed to do what they did ever again.
So let's finish this game off by talking about Will Bruin. Right? Will Bruin, in what was probably the middle of the second half yesterday, tweets, ATX has one of the best home atmospheres in the league. I don't get how they are always playing from behind. Then he quote, obviously that, as it should, prompts a lot of responses on Twitter. He quote tweets one from Aaron Jimenez, who said, "We asked the same questions." Well, we asked the same questions. And Will says, "I'll answer your question. Soft mentality." Mm-hmm. And then he answered another Austin fan who asked him for any dirt on Josh Wolf to spill it, right? Mm-hmm. And honestly, I share that sentiment. Because, if you're going to come out and do this, whether you're talking about the coach, whether you're talking about the players, or both, fucking come correct, man, because you're not in that locker room anymore. And for me, and I hope I'm not stealing, because I know you said a lot of these similar things last night, E. Do that when you're in that locker room. Mm-hmm. Do it when you're in the locker room, because now if you're not going to be specific on and I think he probably had maybe one too many last night, is just how this reads to me, because some of his responses that we have screenshots of are deleted this morning. Yeah. Which were shots at, he took a shot at the players, and that was one that was deleted. So I guess that he did do a little bit of that. And he responded to the question about Wolf, and he said, "I love the guy to death, and he is a great coach, but you can't always, in all caps, play from behind." And so again, that goes back to my idea of if you're actually say it to us straight, give it to us straight. If you're going to do this, if you're going to say Josh Wolf, you love him and he's a great coach, I just don't get it. So then where is it? Are you going at the players? Are you just, the situation is frustrating you, but you're not even on the team anymore? I was confused at the end of the day.
I like I said, I didn't take too much stock in it. To me, you had to say it last year. You were here, brother. If we were always down, brother, you were here. You were on the bench.
And saying it to random fucking fans outside of a stadium doesn't fucking count. It does not count. It does not count. Again, at some point in time, you got to stand on some business. And if he had stuff that he wanted to get off his chest, I don't think he would have been wrong about it. He's more than entitled to his opinion about the failures of this coaching staff, the lack of talent that this club has. But to kind of subtweet it
and then kind of to try to walk away from it. You tell him you love the guy. So then, yeah, exactly. Who are we talking about? Because you said there was no Ferraris. And and look, to Will's credit, I do know that he was very vocal in that locker room last year. There was plenty of times where he was trying to ignite some fire that lays some credence to the soft mentality thing that he brings up, because you could see the push that when he came in, cheering, clapping, let's go, boys, let's get it going here. And anyone could have said that last night and not been wrong, because it was just an absolute disaster. Yeah. So it is what it is with Will there. I don't know who he's trying to direct that at, but to your point, he needs to come out with it. If that's the way you feel, man, it's on your heart, then go ahead and speak it.
Yep. Let's close out episode 120E talking about Rodolfo Borrell's Thursday press conference. Try to end on some good vibes, because after watching this, man, like, there hasn't been a time when this man speaks and I don't love it. Right. Yeah. Like, whether he's like, right, he's saying the right things, responding to reporters, not letting anything go. He's addressing everything that is asked of him. And again, still putting out it's what you want to hear. But now that we've seen an off season, we've seen those salary cap conscious signings, we've seen trying to create competition on the depth chart and continuing to build exactly as he told us. Right? Exactly as he told us. So again, it's just good to hear. For me, it's like a little reassuring that, like, there's an adult in the room. And if you don't mind, I'll read some of these quotes off here.
Just give me one.
Yeah, go ahead.
Because I forgot to bring it up, obviously, in my rage and emotion here from watching this. But with Wolf, you got the vote of confidence from the man, from the boss man, earlier in this preseason, in this offseason. You got the vote of confidence, and you came out and you embarrassed him in that first half. Like, that was the vote that he needed. That was the one where it was like, all right, okay, then it might be off my back a little bit now. But to go out and have that performance after you get the vote of confidence from Rodolfo Borrell is a total failure.
I agree. So Rodo said, and we'll go through a couple topics here. He said, it's not new to anyone that the salary cap situation was not ideal when I arrived. I mentioned that in my previous press conferences. It's not an excuse, just a reality. I think the most important thing was to assess the situation that we had and to have a plan. First part of that plan was, I knew this transfer market was going to be challenging because of the lack of flexibility in our salary cap. We declined 9 options at the end of the year. It's a lot of positions to fill in. The priorities we had were, number 1, we had to bring in numbers. Number 2, we had to guarantee some balance positionally. 3, trying to bring better players, younger players, and for much less money. And this is exactly what we accomplished in this transfer window. He's 100% right.
No cap there.
He says, we have been targeting absolutely everything and more. There have been things that are possible and things that have not been possible for different reasons, as it is with any other club. The one thing I can tell you is we are very ambitious, and we will target every single window to improve the team. This is just the first phase. It's much more challenging in this window with European clubs because they are in the middle of their season. At the end of the day, all of the players that we are interested in are in the middle of their season and are important players to their clubs, and it's not easy to bring them in the middle of a season. So clearly talking about Mikael Dessler, and then maybe some other options here, because he went on and said, I can confirm that we have already signed 1 player for the summer. Done. So there's Dessler, right? And we are very close to another one, because this is about trying to bring the right players at the right time. Like it or not, because we have to manage the situation of the salary cap that we have. Instead of bringing in players for the sake of it, throwing money at it, we need to be smart. So again, not just happy to hear Rodo, give us his spiel again and kind of reinforce the idea, the plan that he has, but to tease us with, we've got, he doesn't name the players, of course, but he's very clearly saying we've got Dessler, and there's another one that you might hear about soon because we're very close. So again, and the way he came from talking about European clubs and players and the window, and then saying we have a signing, another one's close, it sounds like to me that this is another player coming over from Europe.
Yeah, look, man, when you're reeling that off there and you bring up Dessler and stuff, and I'm thinking about our current club and our current team, and I'm thinking about Johnny, and like, did that impact him last night? Like, all we've heard, from their boss is we need to get better players. Like, that is not a vote of confidence for the dudes who are here. And like, obviously, Rigoni has to know the clock is ticking on him. Alex has to know the clock is ticking on him. And to to extend some sort of empathy to these players, because they are now kind of in a tough spot. Like, in Dessler's here, like, Johnny's going to feel a certain type of way about that. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he was an all-star. And it's like, we went out and we go get this guy. So I'm definitely excited about all of that coming to fruition. But we have to be better right now in this moment. And that's it. So I'm excited about that. And to get another mystery guy, there's Moochie. To get another
Mooch is up for the Rodo press conference.
Potentially from Europe is awesome, and it's exciting, but that is not going to help us in this first half of the season.
Yeah, please don't get it twisted. I'm separate these two things, right? Again, I'm trying to be positive and excited about the future vision that, again, it's not breaking news to anybody, but just to get that reinforcement to see, I wish I could hear Rodolfo Burrell talk about the direction of this club once a week, just a little road therapy session. Give me 8 to 10 minutes here or there. I would love that.
I'm not trying to come from the standpoint of like that. I'm trying to come from the standpoint of trying to understand the player's mentality and where they're at headspace wise. They want to be a part of this club too, for sure. So, it's a precarious situation to monitor right now. And just for good measure, fuck you, Claudio Reyna, for what you did to our cap sheet, brother.
Yeah. I wrote a couple more quotes here. He said, "I understand the anxiety of the people and the fans. Everyone wants to sit down on Saturday and see the team like, wow, dominating and winning and all of that. At the same time, with that sense of urgency comes the fact that I was brought here to bring common sense as well, to build things to remain. We want the crowd to feel proud of the team, of the football club. We want this. We think we have a great fan base. I honestly think they're amazing. The fan base is amazing. The support is incredible. The city is great. I sit down alongside the fans during the games, and I feel that they want us to win and do well." And yeah, again, like the last part there, right? Bringing the common sense. That's what we've been excited about with Rodo, that his scouting network, his experience from academy levels on up. So again, I think it was good to hear from Rodo on Thursday. Tough to still be excited, positive at all after what we all went through last night. But I did want to discuss that on the pod and be able to kind of separate it a little bit from the disaster in the opener.
Man, his pressers are always wonderful. He obviously is a seasoned pro with that stuff, and probably dealing with the Austin media market is, a drop in the bucket for what he's had to deal
Child's play.
Just absolute nonsense to him. So always love to hear from the man, and everything he has been saying is true. Every signing that we made in this offseason, it looks good on paper. Like these are the right amount of times, the right amount of length, duration for a contract, as well as the salaries that we're aware of, which you can go check out for yourself at the northendpodcast.com.
There you go. Nice plug. Almost like a professional there. Northendpodcast.com. You can go there. Match preview articles, right? We'll have that Seattle preview out for you all midweek, continuously updating those with injury reports, with news, and the like. We are back on Wednesday with the Seattle preview here on episode 121. Last business day, greatest keeper in the world, the nonsense, everything in between. Anything else for you before we get out of here?
Not looking forward to next week, but I am looking forward to it because it is another opportunity. And, nothing is complete. A whole season is not completely defined by one game, particularly just one half. I'm ready to put it behind me. I hope that I don't bitch and complain about it, in the future, but I probably will. So, looking forward to the Seattle opportunity. It could go really bad. But we'll have that preview out, and we'll try to find some good things to say about our chances in that matchup.
Absolutely. Everybody, heads up. Enjoy the beginning of your week. We'll see you back here on Wednesday for episode 121. Till then, he's E and I'm Zach. Vamos a NFC, everybody. Goodbye.